The GPS on Rachel Morgan's Mercedes died at exactly 9:47 p.m., right before her phone signal dropped to nothing. She pulled onto the shoulder of Highway 89, watching her perfect evening dissolve into mountain darkness. 3 attempts to restart the car produced nothing but clicking sounds. Outside, the Arizona desert stretched endlessly, beautiful during sunset but menacing under a starless October sky. Rachel stepped out into air that smelled like dust and sage. Her silk blouse and tailored pants, perfect for the Phoenix investor meeting where she'd secured $30 million in funding 6 hours earlier, offered zero comfort against the desert chill. Headlights appeared, bouncing slightly on the uneven road. A Chevy Silverado, paint faded but engine running strong, pulled up behind her Mercedes. The driver emerged slowly, mid-30s, wearing a faded work shirt with Martinez Auto stitched on the pocket. Dark eyes assessed the situation with quiet competence. Engine trouble? His voice carried the gentle confidence of someone who'd solved 1,000 mechanical problems. Rachel's shoulders dropped with relief. It won't start. I have no idea what's wrong. Mind if I look? He was already moving toward the hood, not waiting for formal permission. Professional instinct taking over. She watched him work, noting the methodical way he checked connections, tested components, moved with absolute certainty. Something about his profile tugged at her memory. The angle of his jaw, the concentrated furrow between his brows. Battery cable came loose. Desert roads do that sometimes. He straightened, walked to his truck, returned with tools. Give me 2 minutes. Rachel found herself studying him more closely. The way he smiled when he found the problem felt familiar, like a song she'd heard in another lifetime. I'm Rachel, by the way. He glanced up briefly, offering that smile again. Marcus Rivera. The name meant nothing, but something in his eyes made her heart skip. You live around here? About 15 miles up the road. Run an auto shop in Redemption Springs. He tightened something, then gestured. Try it now. The engine roared to life immediately. Rachel stepped out, already reaching for her wallet. Thank you so much. What do I owe you? Nothing. Took 90 seconds. His tone carried no false modesty, just fact. Then at least take my card. She pulled one from her purse, holding it toward him. If you ever need anything, please call. Marcus took the card, reading it in the dim interior light. His eyebrows rose slightly. CEO of Morgan Tech Solutions. Impressive. I got lucky. She felt suddenly self-conscious about the title. Luck has nothing to do with building what you've built. He tucked the card into his pocket. Drive safe, Ms. Morgan. She watched his taillights disappear around a curve, then sat in her idling Mercedes with hands shaking too hard to drive. That smile, that kindness, the way he looked at her like she was a person, not a CEO or a potential business deal. She knew that feeling. Hadn't felt it in 12 years, but she knew it. Rachel fumbled for her phone, typed with trembling fingers. Martinez Auto Repair, Redemption Springs, Arizona. The signal was weak but enough. The website loaded slowly. Basic layout, contact information, photos of a small shop on a dusty main street. And there, standing in front with arms crossed and that same easy smile, Marcus Rivera. Rachel zoomed in, studying every detail. Older now, weathered by desert sun and outdoor work, but unmistakably him. The man who'd defended her at the university library 12 years ago. The man she dated for 3 months before he vanished without explanation. The man she'd spent a decade trying to forget. Marcus Rivera, she said aloud, testing the name. After all this time, you're here. She drove the remaining 2 hours to Phoenix in a daze, autopilot guiding her through desert highways while her mind spun backward. Her penthouse felt sterile when she finally arrived. The minimalist furniture, the abstract art, the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. All of it felt empty. Rachel collapsed into bed without bothering to change, staring at the ceiling, letting herself remember. 12 years ago, she'd been Victoria Chun, broke scholarship student at Arizona State University, working 2 jobs to afford textbooks. September night, walking back from the library after closing, tired from her shift at the campus coffee shop. The 3 men had appeared near the engineering building, already drunk, already aggressive. They'd surrounded her before she could run, blocking the path, making comments that turned her stomach. Then Marcus had appeared, not running, not shouting, just stepping between her and them with absolute calm. "She's with me. You need to leave." His voice had carried certainty that made drunk idiots reconsider. They'd backed off, disappeared into the night. Marcus had turned to her, concern replacing the steel in his expression. "You okay?" She hadn't been able to speak, still shaking. He'd walked her to her dorm, not touching her, just staying close enough that she felt safe. They'd sat on the steps and talked until 3 a.m. about everything. Dreams, fears, why they'd chosen Arizona State. He'd been a sophomore in mechanical engineering, working his way through school like her. His father had died when Marcus was 7. His mother worked double shifts at a factory. He understood poverty, understood fighting for every opportunity. They'd started dating after that night. Coffee shops where they split 1 drink. Study sessions in the library. Walking campus when the weather cooled. Marcus had given her his jacket when she shivered, bought her lunch when she was broke, made her laugh when calculus made her want to scream. In November, he'd given her a silver bracelet, nothing fancy, but he'd saved for weeks to buy it. "So you remember," he'd said, fastening it around her wrist, "that someone thinks you're worth something." She'd worn it every day. On December 15th, 2013, Marcus had kissed her goodnight and said he'd see her tomorrow. She never saw him again. His roommate said Marcus had moved out suddenly, family emergency, no forwarding address. Rachel had searched desperately, asking everyone who knew him. Nobody had answers. He'd simply vanished. A girl named Jessica from her English class had visited once, seeming sympathetic. She told Rachel that Marcus had gone back to California to marry his high school girlfriend. The news had shattered her. Rachel had transferred to UCLA that spring, unable to stay where every corner reminded her of what she'd lost. She'd thrown herself into computer science with single-minded intensity, channeled pain into achievement. By 26, she'd founded her company. By 30, she'd built an empire. But she'd never forgotten Marcus Rivera. Never stopped measuring every man against him. Never stopped wondering what if. Now, lying in her Phoenix penthouse, Rachel opened Facebook. Marcus's profile was semi-public, photos of him working on cars, at community events, hiking desert trails, and with a child. A little boy appeared in photos from the past 5 years. Dark curls, Marcus's warm smile. Birthday parties, little league games, camping trips. The captions identified him as Diego, his son. Rachel did the math. If the boy was 7 now, he'd been born around 2017, 5 years after Marcus disappeared from ASU. No woman appeared in recent photos. No wedding ring visible. She found herself crying, hot tears sliding down her temples. Marcus had moved on, built a life, had a son. Of course he had. She'd done the same, different kind of legacy. But seeing proof of the years he'd lived without her hurt more than expected. Morning light woke her at 6. Her first conscious thought was of Marcus. Her second was a decision. She called her assistant at 7:30. Clear my calendar for today. Personal matter. By 9, Rachel was in her car driving back toward Redemption Springs. She told herself this was just courtesy, professional networking. Maybe his shop could handle her company's fleet maintenance. She knew she was lying to herself. Redemption Springs appeared like something from a Western movie. One main street, a handful of businesses, pickup trucks parked at angles. Martinez Auto sat between a diner and a feed store, modest building, hand-painted sign that had seen better years. Through the window, she could see Marcus working on a Ford, movements efficient and practiced. Rachel sat in her Mercedes for 5 minutes, gathering courage. Finally, she grabbed a coffee carrier from the passenger seat, expensive lattes from Phoenix, and crossed the street. The shop smelled like motor oil and hard work. A young woman at the desk looked up with a smile. "Help you? I'm looking for Marcus." The woman's smile widened knowingly. Before she could respond, Marcus emerged from the garage, wiping his hands. He stopped when he saw her, surprise flickering across his face before settling into something pleased. "Ms. Morgan. Rachel, please." She held up the coffee carrier. "I brought caffeine to say thank you properly." Something complex passed through Marcus's expression. He glanced back at the shop, then at her. Yeah, I can take a break." They walked to a small park at the end of Main Street, settled on a weathered bench under a cottonwood tree. Rachel had brought fancy lattes, suddenly aware how pretentious they looked in this working-class town. Marcus took a sip, made an appreciative sound. "You didn't have to do this." "I wanted to." Rachel picked at her own cup lid, nervous energy killing her appetite for coffee. "Have you always lived here?" 10 years. Moved after my mom passed." "I'm sorry." Marcus nodded, accepting the condolence. "She fought hard. Made me promise I'd build something stable." "Did you grow up in Arizona?" "California, actually. Near San Diego." Rachel's breath caught, but she forced her voice to stay casual. "Really? I went to college in California briefly. UCLA. Small world." Marcus's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "Did you go to college?" The question hung between them. Marcus set down his coffee. "If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like the video. Your comment means more than you think. It inspires me to keep creating stories that heal, teach, and move people. Not meeting her eyes. Started to. Life had other plans. She wanted to push, to demand answers. Instead, she changed subjects. "The business must keep you busy." "Busy enough. Honest work." Marcus finally looked at her directly, something in his gaze making her skin prickle. "What about you?" "Building a tech company. That's impressive." Rachel heard distance in his voice, saw walls going up. "I worked hard. Got opportunities. More than opportunities. You built something real." He picked up his coffee again. "People like you go places the rest of us just read about." "People like me?" The phrase stung. "Successful. Powerful. You've got options most folks never see." Before Rachel could respond, a school bus stopped at the corner. Children poured out, backpacks bouncing. A little boy with dark curls broke away and ran toward them. "Dad! Dad!" He skidded to a stop, breathless and grinning. "Coach said I can pitch next game." Marcus's entire demeanor transformed. The walls came down, replaced by pure paternal love. "That's amazing, Mijo. I knew you would." The boy noticed Rachel, curiosity replacing excitement. "Who's that?" "This is Ms. Morgan. Her car had trouble, so I helped." Marcus's hand stayed protectively on his son's shoulder. "Why's she here today?" The question came out suspicious, defensive. Smart kid, Rachel thought. Protective instinct. "I wanted to thank your dad properly." Diego studied Rachel with intense scrutiny, taking in the expensive clothes, the designer bag. Whatever conclusions he reached didn't seem favorable. He moved closer to Marcus. "Can we go home? I'm hungry." Marcus checked his watch. "Let me close up the shop." "Ms. Morgan, thank you for the coffee." The dismissal was gentle but clear. Rachel stood, gathering trash. "Of course. I should get back to Phoenix anyway." She walked back to her Mercedes, feeling Diego's eyes on her back. Through the rearview mirror, she watched Marcus and his son enter the shop together, saw him ruffle the boy's hair affectionately. Except she wasn't a stranger. She was the girl he'd saved, the girl he'd dated, the girl who'd loved him before everything fell apart. And he didn't even know. Rachel started her car but didn't pull away. She'd noticed something when Marcus stood. A chain around his neck, visible for just a moment. Silver, thin, familiar. Could he still be wearing it? After 12 years? The thought seemed impossible. But then, everything about today felt impossible. 3 days passed. Rachel tried to focus on work, but her mind kept drifting to Redemption Springs. Thursday evening found her back there, parking outside the diner where locals congregated. Through the window, she spotted Marcus at a corner booth, eating dinner alone. Before she could second-guess herself, she was inside, sliding into the seat across from him. Marcus looked up, fork halfway to his mouth. "Ms. Morgan, this is becoming a pattern." "I know." Rachel's hands trembled under the table. "Marcus, I need to ask you something. 12 years ago, Arizona State University. Do you remember a girl named Victoria?" "Victoria Chin." The fork clattered against the plate. Marcus's face went completely white. "Victoria." His voice came out barely above a whisper. "It's me, Marcus. I'm Victoria." He stared, hands gripping the table edge. No, Victoria had different hair, glasses. She was. "I changed everything. Dyed my hair, got contacts, gained weight, took my mother's maiden name." Each word felt like pulling glass from a wound. "But it's still me." Marcus stood abruptly, his chair scraping. He grabbed his jacket and walked toward the door. Rachel followed, heart trying to escape through her throat. Outside, November wind cut through her blazer. Marcus paced, running his hands through his hair. "You're Victoria. Jesus, you're actually Victoria. I recognized you on that highway. Your smile. I couldn't believe it at first." Marcus spun to face her, pain in his eyes nearly physical. "I looked for you. I tried to find you after everything happened. I was there. I came to your dorm every single day. You vanished. My mom got cancer. Stage 4. The words tumbled out in a rush. Then I wrecked my truck driving back from the hospital. Lost my phone, my laptop, everything. We had to move to California for treatment. I tried to contact you through ASU, but they said you'd transferred. I did. Second semester. I couldn't stay after. Rachel stopped, not ready to tell him about the depression, the therapy, how close she'd come to not making it. After you disappeared. Marcus's hands shook as he pulled the chain from under his shirt. The silver bracelet swung in the parking lot lights, tarnished but intact, threaded onto the chain. I've worn this every day, every single day for 12 years. It was all I had left of you. Rachel's knees buckled. Marcus caught her, his hands on her arms. First physical contact since that night on the library steps. She reached out, touched the bracelet with trembling fingers. You kept it. Of course I kept it, Victoria. You were... Emotion choked off the words. You were everything, and I lost you. They stood in the parking lot, two people who'd spent 12 years apart trying to bridge an impossible distance. Finally, Marcus spoke again, voice rough. We should talk. Really talk. Not here. Where? My truck. He gestured. It's quieter. They sat in his Silverado, engine off, overhead light casting harsh shadows. For 10 minutes they just cried. Both of them. Years of loss pouring out. Then the words came, tumbling over each other as they tried to compress 12 years into comprehensible narrative. Marcus told her about his mother's death in March 2014, about moving to California, then Arizona, trying desperately to find Victoria while building a life from nothing, about giving up, believing she'd moved on. I met someone 3 years later, Marcus admitted. Carmen. She told me she knew you from ASU. Said you were her roommate freshman year. Rachel stiffened. Carmen Martinez? We were never close. She resented me for getting the scholarship she wanted. She told me you were engaged, that you'd moved to San Francisco and were happy. God, Marcus, all these years I thought you abandoned me. She was lying. Carmen got pregnant. We got married. The words came flat. Diego came along. The marriage lasted 4 years. She left when Diego was 3. Car accident took her 2 years later. I'm so sorry. Don't be. I love my son more than anything. But Carmen and I... He shook his head. I settled because I thought I'd already lost my chance at real love. Rachel pulled his hand to her chest, pressing it against her racing heart. I built my company out of grief. Every late night, every difficult decision, I was trying to fill the space you left. Did it work? No, nothing worked. No amount of success ever made me feel the way you did in 3 months. They sat in silence, processing. Finally, Marcus spoke. What now? I don't know. Rachel turned to face him fully. You have a son, a life here. I have a company in Phoenix. We're different people. Are we? Marcus's thumb traced circles on her hand. Because sitting here feels exactly like it did 12 years ago. I feel it too. But feeling isn't enough. We have responsibilities. Diego is my first priority. Always. I wouldn't expect anything different. Rachel met his eyes. But Marcus, I need you to know. I recognized you that night, and I had to see you again. I had to know if what we had was real. He leaned closer. It was real, Victoria. It's still real. The space between them felt electric. Marcus's free hand came up to cup her face. I'm terrified. Terrified that if I kiss you right now, I'll never be able to let you go again. Then don't let go. Not this time. You're a CEO. I'm a mechanic in a town with one traffic light. How does that work? I don't care about any of that. You fit. You've always fit. Marcus searched her face. Whatever he found satisfied him. He leaned in, stopping just before their lips touched. Last chance to run. Instead of answering, Rachel closed the final distance. The kiss was soft at first, tentative. 12 years of caution making them careful. Then muscle memory took over. His hand tangled in her hair. Her fingers gripped his shirt, and they kissed like drowning people finding air. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Marcus rested his forehead against hers. What do we do now? We figure it out together this time. I have to think about Diego. He's been through enough. I won't disappear. Not again. Not ever. Marcus nodded slowly. Okay. We try. We take it slow. We're careful with Diego. And we try. 6 months passed in a rhythm that felt both foreign and inevitable. Rachel relocated to Redemption Springs 3 days a week, managing her company remotely while spending time with Marcus and slowly, carefully, getting to know Diego. The adjustment came with friction. Rachel's work calls interrupted dinner. Diego tested her constantly, pushing boundaries to see if she'd leave like his mother had. Marcus mediated arguments about bedtimes and homework and the 1,000 tiny compromises that built a blended family. But there were victories too. Rachel taught Diego coding basics during homework sessions, watching his eyes light up when programs worked. Marcus showed her how to change brake pads, patient with her mistakes. They cooked dinner together most nights, 3 people learning to share space. Diego's acceptance came slowly. One evening, after helping Rachel debug a particularly tricky piece of code, he looked up at her with something like respect. You're pretty smart. You're pretty smart yourself, kiddo. Are you going to stay? The question came out small, scared. Rachel knelt to his level. I'm not going anywhere. I promise. Mom promised too. I know, and that wasn't fair to you. Rachel chose her words carefully. But I'm not your mom. I'm someone who cares about your dad and cares about you. And I keep my promises. Diego studied her face, looking for lies. Whatever he found must have satisfied him because he nodded once, then went back to his homework. That night, Marcus pulled Rachel close on the porch. He's warming up to you. He's protecting himself. Smart kid. He asked me yesterday if you were going to be his new mom. Rachel's breath caught. What did you tell him? I told him that's up to him. That family isn't just about biology. It's about who shows up and stays. 3 weeks later, a lawyer showed up at Marcus's shop. Carmen's sister was suing for custody, claiming Marcus couldn't provide adequately for Diego. The petition was professionally prepared, devastating in implications. Rachel read through it with cold analytical precision. She's using your income against you, arguing Diego would have better opportunities with her. She didn't want him when Carmen died. Now she shows up demanding custody. We fight this. We win. Marcus hired a lawyer, Diana, who specialized in family law but operated on his budget. Rachel immediately offered resources, money for expert witnesses, investigators, whatever they needed. "I can't let you pay for this," Marcus protested. "You're not letting me do anything. I'm choosing to fight for my family." The custody hearing was brutal. Carmen's sister had money, expensive lawyers, arguments about opportunities Marcus couldn't provide. But Diana built a strong defense. Teachers testifying about Diego's happiness, doctors confirming consistent care, neighbors describing a loving home. When Rachel testified, Carmen's sister's lawyer tried to paint her as a distraction, an unstable element. Rachel met his attacks with calm precision. "Ms. Morgan, your relationship with Mr. Rivera is quite new, isn't it? We've known each other 12 years. We're just continuing what started in college. And you're willing to fund Diego's entire upbringing?" "Absolutely. Diego can have educational opportunities and a father who loves him. Those things aren't mutually exclusive." The judge took 2 days to decide. When she finally ruled, her words were careful but clear. "Custody remains with Mr. Rivera. This child is thriving under his care. Ms. Rivera-Johnson's concerns about resources are noted but outweighed by the stability and love Diego receives from his father." Outside the courthouse, Marcus collapsed against Rachel, both of them shaking with relief. Diego, who'd been staying with a neighbor, ran to them when they picked him up, hugging Marcus so tight it must have hurt. That night, after Diego finally fell asleep, Marcus found Rachel on the porch. "You told that courtroom you'd pay for Diego's entire future." "I meant it." "Why? You barely know him." "I know him enough. He's your son. That makes him important to me." Marcus took her hands. "What you did today, that wasn't just helping. That was love. Of course it's love. I love Diego. I love the life we're building. Marry me." The words hung in the desert air. Rachel stared at him. "What?" "Marry me. Not next year or when things settle. Soon. Because life is short, and I've already wasted 12 years. Marcus pulled out a small box. "This isn't fancy, but it's real." The ring was simple silver band with a small turquoise stone. "Exactly right." "Yes," Rachel whispered. "Yes to making this official. Yes to being Diego's mom. Yes to all of it." 6 months later, the community center was transformed with white fabric and wildflowers. 75 people filled folding chairs, Marcus's town friends mixing with Rachel's business colleagues. Diego was ring bearer, grinning so wide his face must hurt. Marcus waited at the front in a simple gray suit, that silver chain visible at his throat, the bracelet and his mother's cross together now. Rachel walked down the aisle in a cream dress, simple and perfect. They'd written their own vows. Marcus spoke first. 12 years ago, I let you go because I had no choice. Today, I'm promising I'll never let go again. You've changed my life twice. First by showing me what love could be. Second by proving it doesn't have to end." Rachel's voice trembled. "I built an empire because I thought success would fill the empty space. Didn't. Nothing did until I found you again. You and Diego are my home, my family, my everything." The officiant pronounced them married. Marcus kissed her to applause and cheers. During the reception, Diego pulled Rachel aside. In his hand was a small wrapped box. "Dad helped me pick it out." Inside was a silver bracelet, delicate, beautiful. with a small charm in the shape of a heart. "It's so you match Dad," Diego explained. "So everyone knows your family." Rachel knelt, letting him fasten it around her wrist. "Thank you, Diego. This is perfect. You're really staying, right? Forever. Forever. I promise." Later, during the dancing, Marcus pulled Rachel close. "Happy. Beyond words." "Me too. For the first time in 12 years, everything feels right." Rachel looked around at the crowded room, her board members laughing with Marcus's poker buddies, Diego dancing with kids from school, separate worlds that had found ways to coexist. Sometimes the stranger who stopped to help wasn't a stranger at all. Sometimes they were the answer you'd been searching for your entire life. And sometimes, if you were very lucky and very brave, you got a second chance to get it right. Rachel touched the bracelet on her wrist. Old and new, past and future, connected by choice and love and the decision to stay when things got hard. That was family. Not biology or timing or perfect circumstances. Just showing up, staying present, and loving through the difficult parts. She'd spent 12 years building walls and armor, becoming powerful enough that nobody could hurt her. But real strength, she'd learned, wasn't about protection. It was about being brave enough to let someone in. Marcus had shown her that. Diego had taught her that. This life they were building together proved it every day. As the celebration continued around them, Marcus whispered, "What are you thinking about?" "That I'd gladly break down on that highway 1,000 times if it meant finding my way back to you. You never really left. You were always here." He touched the bracelet on the chain around his neck. Right here, and standing in the warmth of their chosen family, celebrating the life they'd fought so hard to build. Rachel finally understood what she'd been searching for all those years. Not success, not power, not empire, just this being loved, being chosen, being home,